before this video gets properly going, just to let you know, I want to hit 10,000 subscribers. Now, at the time of recording this, I am very close to 8. So yes, I am being a little bit greedy. However, if you haven't already, then make sure that you subscribe and help me get to my goal. I want to make sure that I hit 10k this year. It is my goal for this year, and if I don't hit it, I'll be very pissed off with myself. And you know, it's free, why not? If you like the videos, subscribe for more. Anyway, back to me. Hey guys, it is Wingy here, and welcome to my Series 9 review, which, to be fair, has been a long time coming. I used to get these out fairly regularly, kind of. However, I haven't done a series review for a while, and I thought, finally, let's do it. Now, the thing is, if you know me, or you know my channel at all, you are probably gonna know roughly what I have to say about this series, because for me, this was a major turning point for me as a fan, and not in a good way. So, sorry to all the Series 9 fans out there. Some people regard this as one of the best series of the modern era. Some say it's one of Moffat's best. I flat out disagree. Listen, don't get me wrong. This series has its moments. This series has some incredible stories in there. And I do think that the really good stuff in this series is really, really good. But the bad in this series, fuck me, it's bad. So let's talk about the usual things that I talk about. So, Peter Capaldi in his second run as the Doctor. What the fuck happened? Now, for me, some people argue this, and some people say, oh, it's in the subtext of the dialogue and you just don't get it. Maybe, but for me, this is a totally different character to the one that we had just had in Series 8. Now, you could argue that he had that moment of, am I a good man? And he realised, well, I'm just an idiot. But then the first time you see him in this series, it doesn't feel like there's a natural progression from the Series 8 version of the 12th Doctor to this one. It feels like there's a whole thing in the middle that we just didn't get to see. Capaldi in this series is very much like a mad space uncle, the sort of archetype of the Doctor. So if someone said, describe the characteristics of the Doctor, typically they would say like a bit foolish, a bit clumsy, a bit all over the place, but still very clever and in control of the situation. That's how he plays it. And he's fantastic at it, don't get me wrong, but I like that darker 12th Doctor. I really like that Doctor with an edge. And unfortunately, we don't really get too much of it in this series. It does rear its head towards the end, admittedly, but for a fair chunk of this series, the sonic sunglasses, hoodie-wearing Doctor in this would never have been in Series 8. Clara, because I'm going to mention her briefly, unbearable, really unbearable throughout the majority of this series. And listen, it really comes across as though Jenna Coleman stayed on for an extra series because the BBC and Moffat twisted her arm into doing it, which, if correct me if I'm wrong, was pretty much what happened from reading reports. Like, she was supposed to leave after the Christmas special, but then she was also supposed to leave after Series 8, and it gets to a point where it's like, how many fucking opportunities do you want to get rid of this character? Because clearly you want to write her out, clearly you've written exits for her. What are you doing? Like with Series 8, she's just a blank slate of a character who is just obnoxious now. And in this series especially, I feel like she just properly takes over. I'm not going to delve too much more into Clara because, I mean, there's countless videos on my channel. Even in my Series 8 review, I talk about Clara and how much I dislike her, but I think as companions go, she is one of the weakest because I think she is a negative on the series. I think she holds back this Doctor. And in fairness, I don't think Series 9 would be as bad to me if Clara wasn't in it. And I'm particularly talking about the finale, which we will get to. So let's start off with some of the episodes then. Now, the first opening parter, The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar, fuck me is it dog shit. Part 1 is pointless. It's all about, let's get to the story, and then the cliffhanger is, oh, this is the story now. Just start the story where it needs to start. You don't need Clara in this, or at least if you're gonna have Clara, just have her with the Doctor already. Missy, no need for her in this story either. The stuff with the young Davros, pointless. It looked like it was gonna go somewhere, but it doesn't. The bit with the tank is an abomination. I know people seem to really like it. I don't get how. I don't get how people don't look at that scene and think, wow, this is cringy as fuck. The whole stuff with Davros and the Daleks, I mean, the Daleks, I think, again, are kind of pointless in this story. I think Davros himself, you know, him dying is quite interesting, and I quite like the scenes with him and Capaldi, and I quite like the dialogue as well, to be fair. But apart from that, there is nothing in this story where I'm like, oh yeah, Doctor Who is back. Davros opening his eyes as well is so fucking stupid. So fucking stupid. You have no idea how much that irritates me. It might seem like a minor thing, but for me that does kind of wreck Davros's character in a way, and that might sound like an overreaction, but this is a guy who was literally blinded by war to the point where he physically couldn't open his eyes to see the real world or to see things as they were because they were burnt shut, and his views are literally tarnished because of war. To have him open his eyes is stupid. What, he had his eyes shut the entire time and was just like, oh no, if I open them it really hurts. Fuck off. That was a piece of shit. Next story. Fantastic. It's probably one of my favourite, if not my favourite Peter Capaldi story. I love that it plays around with time travel. I just love the ghosts. I love that it's a base under siege. Kingfisher is a bit of a shitty villain, admittedly, but listen, I mean, I've spoke about this a number of times and I probably will speak about this again in my top 3 best of the 12th Doctor when I get to it, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but Under the Lake Before the Flood, fucking fantastic. The two-parter with Ashildr, or me, I've got to say, rewatching it, it's not as bad as I initially thought it was. That being said, it's still really not great. It's in that category of, as you're watching it, this is fine. When you stop watching it, it totally leaves your mind and you have no desire to rewatch it. You don't really think about it. You don't think, wow, that was such a monumental moment. And I'm talking about both the parts. I think Maisie Williams, no offense to her, because I'm sure that she's great in other things, but I don't think she's that good in these stories. I like the fact that they are more Doctor focused, particularly the second part. But then again, the Doctor making some rando totally immortal is just totally reckless, which, I mean, maybe that's what they were going for with the Doctor in this series, fucking clearly, with Hellbent, but I don't know. It's just a dodgy two-parter, but it's fine as you're watching it. The Zygon two-parter, ooh, fucking hell, what a disappointment. Now the thing is, the war speech, yeah, that's great. Everything else, I think, is really crappy. Like, really, really crappy. And here's the thing, a lot of people like to talk about politics in Doctor Who, and they like to say, well, you know, the Jodie Whittaker era and the Chibnall era is so political and everything. Fuck that. The overtly political stuff in Doctor Who started to creep in with this series. This story is a prime example of that. It's clearly referencing ISIS, because around that time there was the stuff with the beheadings and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it comes across as you're clearly trying to talk about that, but in a Doctor Who way, as opposed to telling a good story that happens to have a political twist, which is why I think that the classic era, particularly throughout the Pertwee era, when people talk about politics in Doctor Who, they're missing the point. It's not that Doctor Who is political, it's that Doctor Who now does the political aspect properly poor in comparison to some of those other stories. This story as a whole, I think it has some nice ideas in there. The bit with the soldiers where they get convinced by that one woman, well, the Zygon pretending to be one of the soldiers' mums. How fucking thick are you? Obviously it's not your mum. Why would you fall for that? You're an idiot. You deserve to die. Clara having a duplicate, fine, I guess. I mean, it's a unit story, but I mean, there's that one woman who gets tricked by Clara and they take her down into the basement and she gets killed. And I remember at the time people saying like, oh my god, I can't believe that they died. Really? Because I don't even know her fucking name. Like, why are we praising shitty characters that die after half an hour on screen? I think some of the humour in this story actually is really, really bad. Like, properly cringeworthy. The stuff about the question mark underwear? No. No. Like, the humour is way off in this one. And it's disappointing, like I say, because seeing the proper return of the Zygons after that was teased in the 50th, I was very excited to see it, particularly with it being a unit story. And like I say, there's the speech, there's a couple of moments here and there, but overall this story is a huge letdown for me. Have I missed something, or is it Face the Raven? If I've missed something, oh, Sleep No More. It's Sleep No More. Yeah, that's shite. Found footage doesn't work in Doctor Who. You've tried it once, never do it again. Then it's Face the Raven. I see. Really good, actually. As an episode, I quite like it. I like the fact that they brought Riggsy back. There was no real need to, but nice to see him. I love the fact that Clara being an obnoxious know-it-all is why she gets killed. Debuts arguably the sexiest Doctor Who costume of the modern era as well, with the red velvet, which is, oh, awesome. The idea of the trap street I think is really cool. I think it's a bit off with some of the aliens like Cybermen and Sontaran. I'd rather it was just new aliens that they had in there, not just ones where it's like, isn't there a Cyberman that is in love with another one or something? That's weird, don't do that. But for the most part, this is actually a pretty strong episode, and for a character piece for Clara, I think it sums her up perfectly. And I think as exits go, this is arguably the best one of the 78 million that she had. Her death scene is shot very awkwardly though, I must say, where you just see the bird go into her about 50 times from so many different slow-mo angles. It becomes laughable at some points, but Capaldi's acting is phenomenal. Really, really great. Heaven Sent, do I need to talk about it? So good. It's a Capaldi masterclass. It's amazing. not perfect. There's a couple of lines of dialogue where I'm like, leave that. And weirdly, this is something that I don't think many people talk about. There is a little bit in the score, I think it's when the camera's panning over a shot of like this painting of Clara, and the music sounds like something out of the 80s, like 80s Who, like with synths and stuff. It's so awesome. That's an underrated moment. A little bit too Sherlocky in places though, I have to say. The story with like the Mind Palace or the Doctor in the TARDIS doesn't quite work for me. But overall, this is like, in terms of pure acting and seeing a Doctor just act their fucking arse off, this is incredible. Do I need to talk about Hellbent? At this point, do you guys not know what I think about Hellbent? Because it is, it's an abomination. It is, listen. I said this on a podcast recently. I don't think Hellbent is the worst episode ever made. I don't think you can look at that episode objectively and say this is a poorly made Doctor Who episode. I think the thing that it's trying to do is done very, very well. My problem with it is the thing that it's trying to do, it shouldn't even be doing in the first place. Particularly when you throw Gallifrey to the side, you throw away some of the character development. This is another exit for Clara when at this point she's had too many. It just all boils up to hate-filling rage inside of me that I can't watch it without getting annoyed. And this was the episode that broke me. You know, a lot of people say, oh, well, you don't watch Doctor Who anymore now. But if I'm totally honest, if Series 10 wasn't Capaldi's last and we didn't have a new Doctor coming in after that, I don't think I would have watched Doctor Who after this. This really did break me. And I know, again, I know that sounds over dramatic and everything, but that episode was everything I didn't want Doctor Who to be. I think Clara was the embodiment of why I really didn't like Doctor Who at that time. Not just because of her, but because like she just represented why I didn't like it. And for it to be a story emphasizing like how Clara's amazing, I was just like, this is not what you should be doing. Doctor Who is so much better than this. You don't need this self-indulgent crap. I think the fact that she flies off in her own TARDIS at the end as well is nauseating. Why the fuck does she get a TARDIS? Like I say, in terms of like, is it the worst thing that's ever been in Doctor Who? Objectively, no. Subjectively, maybe. It's up there. It's up there as one of the worst things that Doctor Who ever did. And what makes it even worse is I've not even spoke about the story arc. Don't even resolve it. The fact that you have to go and read Doctor Who magazine or Doctor Who wiki to find out what the fuck the hybrid was, that shows you've fucking failed with your story arc, because the Doctor and Clara is the hybrid, are they? Not really made all that clear. And people are going to tell me, yeah, but it's in the subtext. You just missed it, you weren't clever enough. It's your fucking story arc. If it's not front and centre and you don't get what it is, that's not on me, that's on the writer. So overall, Series 9 is very hit and miss. But like I said, I think the highs of Series 9 are higher than Series 8. But I think the lows of Series 9 are some of the lowest points that Doctor Who has ever hit. I think the Doctor's characterisation is all over the place and I really don't like that. I hate Clara. I think a lot of the stories are either a huge letdown or just pointless, barring 4 episodes, which I already mentioned. And I think, yeah, this overall is a solid 3 out of 10. Should I say 4 because one? No, because Under the Lake is a 2-parter, so that counts as 1. So yeah, 3 out of 10 just for those stories alone. Otherwise, this series would be way lower. Particularly, I mean, Hellbent alone is bringing this down to like -10. So the fact that it's on a 3, I think is pretty good. In the comments below though guys, let me know what you think of Series 9. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Indifferent? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you leave a like on it, subscribe for more because I want to hit 10k. And if you do any of those things, then I'd absolutely love you forever. But till next time guys, you take care of yourselves. Goodbye.